Welcome to Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go. This audio uses AI narration to present our original book analysis. Today, we're setting sail for the Antarctic with Alfred Lansing's Endurance. It's the gripping true story of Shackleton's legendary 1914 expedition to cross the Antarctic continent. What's striking about Endurance is how Lansing captures both the grand scale of this adventure and the intimate human drama of 28 men stranded in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. I'm joined by our expert to break it all down. This was a time when nations were vying for polar glory, especially after Captain Scott's tragic demise just a few years prior. Shackleton, already a polar veteran himself, aims to reclaim British dominance. But things took a turn when the ship, the Endurance, became trapped in the Weddell Sea's dense pack ice.
It's most ironic, isn't it? The ship named for Endurance becomes a prisoner of the very element it's meant to conquer.
Lansing's descriptions of the ship being slowly crushed by the ice are just incredible. He uses such vivid language. Screaming timbers, reports like artillery fire. You can almost feel the ship as a living thing, fighting for survival. But what gets me is the crew's initial reaction. Amidst this impending doom, Lansing paints this picture of an almost unsettling calm, a strange sense of peace.
I think that speaks volumes about Shackleton's leadership, even in those early stages. Before we delve into the man himself, imagine going from shipboard life to living on a floating ice camp. This was a dramatic shift in their reality, forcing them to adapt quickly, building kennels for the dogs on deck, setting up a makeshift galley they dubbed the Ritz. Lansing doesn't just highlight the physical challenges, but the social dynamics too.
Right. They clung to normalcy, holding on to routines like their Saturday grog rations, which, by the way, has a long tradition in naval history, symbolizing camaraderie. And warding off scurvy in those long sea voyages, they even had phonograph nights. Though running low on needles adds this human touch, reminding us these weren't just explorers, but ordinary men facing extraordinary circumstances.
And let's not forget, all this while the threat of dwindling food supplies loomed large as winter approached. They had seals and penguins, but that wouldn't last forever, which brings us to the man at the helm, Shackleton.
This guy's larger than life, a polar legend. He'd already been to the Antarctic twice, even coming within spitting distance of the South Pole, knighted, driven. He felt this immense pressure to restore British pride after Scott's tragedy. But Lansing doesn't shy away from his flaws either: ambition, recklessness, even manipulation in his dealings with the crew.
That's what makes Lansing's portrayal so compelling. He doesn't sugarcoat Shackleton. He presents him as a complex figure, capable of great inspiration, but also prone to errors. Yet there's that famous quote, "When you are in a hopeless situation, pray for Shackleton." It speaks to his mythical leadership quality.
That quote's been debated, though. Some see Shackleton as reckless, not a savior. What are your thoughts on that? Was he manipulative, or was that pragmatic leadership, given the circumstances?
It's a fascinating question. Shackleton was certainly a product of his time, and his methods might be viewed differently today. But in that context, his ability to inspire hope and confidence, to make calculated decisions under immense pressure, was crucial to their survival.
So the ship is trapped.
Right.
The pressure from the ice relentless. What happens next? This is where the Endurance truly kicks in.
The Endurance is slowly being crushed, the pressure mounting with each passing day. And it's here that Lansing includes a small anecdote. Shackleton telling the crew about a mouse he saw, being stalked by a cat. The mouse didn't panic, didn't run, just calmly observed, Shackleton says. It's the man who keeps his head who wins in the long run. This subtle foreshadowing, this glimpse into Shackleton's awareness of the danger. Yet his ability to maintain a facade of calm, it's brilliant.
Lansing's description of the ship's final moments is just gripping. The suddenness of it all, the scramble to save what they could. How did the crew react to this devastating loss?
That's where we'll pick up in part 2, exploring life on the ice floe, the challenges they faced, and how Shackleton navigated the human dynamics to keep hope alive. Can you imagine the crushing disappointment, the fear, the sense of being utterly adrift, both literally and figuratively?
And yet amidst this despair, Lansing shows us glimpses of resilience.
Right. They salvaged what they could from the wreck, supplies, equipment, even personal items, and set up camp on the ice floe.
Their world shrunk to a precarious island of ice, constantly shifting, groaning, threatening to crack apart at any moment. This wasn't just enduring the cold, was it?
No, not at all. It was a relentless fight against the elements, the gnawing hunger, and the psychological strain of being stranded with no guarantee of rescue.
They had to hunt seals for food, a grim necessity. Lansing doesn't sugarcoat the details, describing the brutal act of killing and butchering these animals.
Yeah, he even mentions they had to kill some of the dogs and the carpenter McNeish's cat. Mrs. Chippy.
That detail amidst the larger struggle for survival just underscores the heartbreaking choices they faced.
It does. It reveals the harsh realities of their situation, the constant awareness that their food was finite, their existence precarious.
And through it all, Shackleton emerges as this meticulous planner, a master of maintaining unity.
He did.
He understood that their survival hinged not just on physical strength, but on their mental and emotional resilience.
Absolutely. And here's where Lansing's insights into Shackleton's leadership style become really fascinating. He was astute, even manipulative at times, in managing the personalities within the tents. He understood the dynamics, pairing people strategically, preventing conflicts from boiling over.
Like a chess master, carefully positioning his pieces to maintain balance and harmony within the group.
Precisely. He was demanding, but he knew how to keep spirits up. Lansing describes moments of camaraderie, sharing precious milk, celebrating birthdays with makeshift cakes, playing cards to stave off boredom.
It's remarkable how they found those glimmers of joy amid such a diversity, all the while they were drifting on this ice floe, at the mercy of the elements.
The long drift, as Lansing calls it, they established Patience Camp, hoping to reach Paulet Island, where there might be supplies. But the ice was treacherous, constantly shifting, making travel perilous.
And their rations dwindled, the relentless search for food taking its toll, both physically and emotionally.
And yet even then, Lansing highlights those small acts of human connection, a shared joke, a kind gesture, a moment of laughter that momentarily pushed back the despair.
They never completely lost sight of their humanity, even when their situation seemed utterly hopeless.
I think that's right.
It's that humanity, that connection to each other, that helped them persevere. When they finally had to abandon the ice floe and take to the boats,
Wow.
the decision to leave what little security the ice floe offered, to launch themselves into the storm-tossed seas in those tiny boats, that must have been terrifying.
Lansing's description of this moment is simply gripping. The perilous launch, the harrowing voyage through the icy waters towards Elephant Island. He uses such visceral language that you can almost feel the freezing temperatures, the constant wetness, the fear of capsizing.
These were incredible feats of human endurance. This constant struggle to bail water, the men pushing themselves beyond what seemed humanly possible, roaming for days on end with little food or rest.
It speaks volumes about their willpower, their refusal to give in, even when death seemed a very real possibility.
And we can't forget Worsley the navigator. His skill and accuracy in guiding them through those treacherous seas were critical to their survival.
Absolutely. Without Worsley's navigation, they would have been lost. And then, after what must have felt like an eternity, they spotted land, Elephant Island.
But their ordeal wasn't over yet.
It was just another chapter in their incredible story.
A desolate, windswept rock. Elephant Island offered little respite from their ordeal.
You're right.
It was here that Shackleton made another audacious decision.
Realizing their only hope lay hundreds of miles away, at the whaling station on South Georgia Island, he chose to attempt the impossible, setting sail in their smallest boat, the James Caird.
This is where the adventure truly becomes legendary. The resilience in the face of such overwhelming odds is truly inspiring and makes you wonder, what do you think enabled these men to persevere through such unimaginable hardship? What lessons can we glean from their experience?
That's a question worth pondering. As we delve into the final chapter of their ordeal, the epic voyage of the Caird. So, we left off with Shackleton making this incredible decision to sail 800 miles across the roughest seas in the world in a tiny 22-foot boat, the James Caird.
Yeah, it's hard to grasp the sheer audacity of it. I mean, the Southern Ocean, it's notorious for its ferocious storms. And here they are, setting off in a boat that honestly seems barely bigger than a bathtub.
And it was an ordeal, beyond anything they'd faced so far. Lansing takes us right into the heart of that journey, the relentless pounding of the waves, the icy winds, the constant sickness.
And the hunger, right. They were living on meager ration.
They were, constantly cold and wet, and always this fear of capsizing.
It's amazing they didn't just give up.
Well, they had Shackleton to keep them going.
He never let them lose sight of their goal.
Of reaching South Georgia.
And then there was Worsley, the navigator. His skill was just phenomenal. Navigating by the stars, with only a sextant and a chronometer in those conditions, it's mind-boggling.
It really is. I mean, to think they managed to hit this tiny island after weeks at sea in that little boat, it's incredible.
But even then, their ordeal wasn't over.
Right. They landed on the wrong side of the island, miles from the whaling station. So Shackleton, Worsley, and Krinken set off on foot
to cross these uncharted mountains
Exactly.
in freezing conditions with no proper equipment. It was another incredible feat of endurance.
And they made it. Reaching the whaling station Stromness, Lansing really captures that moment. The astonishment of the whalers seeing these three figures emerge from the wilderness, bearded and exhausted, but alive.
It's a powerful image, a testament to the strength of the human spirit. But Shackleton's job wasn't done. He still had to rescue the men on Elephant Island.
And it took 4 attempts. Because of the ice.
But he never gave up.
And finally, he was able to reach them and bring them all home safely.
Every single man survived. It's a truly extraordinary story.
It really is. It makes you wonder what we can learn from these men about resilience, about leadership, about the power of hope.
It's a story that's as relevant today as it was back then.
Absolutely. Lansing's endurance is a gripping read, a testament to the human spirit, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and human connection can prevail. If you haven't already read it, I highly recommend you do. You can find a purchase link in the show notes. And be sure to subscribe to Mindful Moments for more captivating book analyses.
Thanks for listening.